Greco World Duels for 20 years. It's the only junior international tournament in the United States. And one year I had a kid from Poland, Polish team there, and I had Chappell's, one of Chappell's kids. And he didn't release pressure on the gut, and his hand got stuck in the mat, and the hips came up, and the arm was caught, and it wasn't a pretty scene. So after that, everybody was moving their hands. So here, so when we go forward, stay in the same position. I always tell the kids it's like playing the drums. You got to release the pressure. You got to go forward, not bounce up. If we say left, you got left, right, forward. So the main emphasis is the hands releasing the pressure, because you don't want to get where you're here and the hip gets over the hand because you're stuck here. So this has got to release. So how do we release that? This hip and this hand. So I always say we circle a little bit. So we're here, circle, and then we're always burning forward. Burn forward. Always burning the lock. If I turn, I don't want my hips turned here, because I'm going to get hit on a switch gut or a backside gut. So here, circle, burn. So if Patrick does get his lock, so we got a low lock. Okay, so he's going to circle a little bit, circle, burn. So one thing we emphasize, we show the basics to the kids, but this guy is in an offensive position. You have to have your mindset in the parterre that it's offense. You're finding the lock, you're reading his shoulders, you're reading his feet, you're staying a step ahead of him. Because once you stop, he's either lifting you or gutting you, then you're trying to play catch up. So you got to stay ahead of the guy. This guy's got to be offensive. So without a partner, again, he's going to circle a little bit, circle, burn. Back, forward, circle, burn. So what Mason's doing is he's isolating the lock on this side, on the hip, so then he can burn it. So circle, burn. Always circle a little bit, square it up. Circle, yeah, Jimmy.
How much forward can you go? Because like I know they're not letting you really just crawl forward anymore. You have to like circle, but how much can you get away with? Like,
well, I mean, internationally, the guys aren't running out. Well, sometimes the referee will stand here and say, position. You can't move. There's only one way to go. So, or the guy's lifting you. So you can go forward. It's just how you're working the log. If you're just crawling forward to avoid wrestling, they're going to call you. But if you're engaged in the fight and the guy's continuing to get, and you're going forward and then circling.
You can't fight the hands anymore, right? In Greco. But if the guy comes out to a front headlock, you can fight the hands then. Right?
Well, we're fighting, try to get to the wrist.
Right.
And fight post out. Yeah, that's one of the big emphases with the national team, the USA wrestling team, is really wrestling out of those positions, not just hanging out down there. Posting out, recover out, get the heck out of there. Don't let the guy crank the hell out of you. Because some of the European guys, they just choke you. They sit and choke. And you got a couple options. They're either blowing the whistle, or you're going over. Or you fight out of it. Because they're going to choke you till you're out cold and over, or the ref stops it. So you gotta, there's gotta be an emphasis, elbows in, fight the hands, wrestle out of the position, just like folk style. Get out. Don't hang out there. So as far as going forward, you just can't crawl forward 5-10 feet without trying to get away from the guy. A lot of guys are doing stand-ups now off bottom. They're just like, like if I'm coming here, they're pushing this direction and out. And some of these guys are so slick, they get their arm up, they're out, and then they attack the waist. But from a developmental standpoint, for the kids, really emphasize hips, hands, and you gotta release pressure. Gotta release pressure. So I'm gonna go through a couple situations first without a partner, and then I'll get Patrick on top and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if he's on a low gut, you want to isolate the lock. So we circle, burn, circle, burn, circle, burn. If the guy slides up to a mid-level lock, you can't hang out in a mid-level lock. You just can't. It's just, as you know, if you've ever been in a good mid-level lock, it's really hard to stop. So you got to get your weight on the lock. So you got to get all your weight heavy on the lock, and then again, you're trying to move the lock. Low, high, circling on it. You're killing the lock. You just can't let the guy, if you're waiting for him to go, he'll cinch over on you. Or Patrick does a good side lift off of that. You can't hang out there. You got to really move and move the lock. If he goes high gut, if he's up here, then your butt's up, pressure here on the lock, and then he's going to pump his hands, burn the lock. Burn the lock, back to low. Then you're back in position. So, again, isolating the lock, feeling the shoulders. A lot of kids, they'll get a lock, and they'll be here. And you know they're going left, so they got to read the shoulder, read the feet, read where the guy's at. Higher level guys, they'll switch gut on you if you turn your hips. So that's why we don't turn our hips. So if I'm gutting this way, if he turns hard this way, the guy's switch gutting across. So you got to keep your hips square to the mat. So that's why you're circling a little bit, burning. Circle, burn, mid-level, find the lock, heavy, moving the lock, high lock, pressure back, burn the lock. So if Patrick does get a lock, and he's got a low lock, so if Patrick, when he starts to gut, just try to go slow. So he's running the gut. Mason's got to pump this hand and move this hip so he doesn't get it over the top. And then if Patrick switches, switch gut. Oh, he burnt you. Switch. Go back. Fight that you're doing defense. So change your position. Mason. So he goes right. Then Patrick tries to jump left. Then he's got to look back into it, head up, hips in. So again, you're finding the shoulders, you're finding out where the guy's at, and you're looking into it. And then you're isolating and squaring back up. So the guy's not, you got to adjust. Now, one of the key things for kids is this. The elbow position. So if they're here, a lot of kids will do this. And the backside elbow is the issue. Because they get gutted on the backside and they can't move their hand and they're like here, and then their elbow's caught. So again, that's why we emphasize never get the elbows past the ears. So you're here. So if I slide this way, sliding my hands this way. Slide, releasing the pressure. So we're not over here. Because the faster the speed of execution gets, they can't move their hands and they get their elbows caught. So it gets a little tricky. So again, it's just moving, elbows, pumping your hands, releasing the pressure. Circle, burn, feel it. Anything from an official standpoint?
I like the forward and turn.
What's that?
I like the way you go forward and turn, forward and turn, then you're not doing the right.
Yeah, well, the reason is if he crawls forward, crash him. Yeah. If he crawls forward, he's just going to crash gut him. He's crawling right into the gut. So that's why you got to isolate the lock and circle burn. But at the arm position and releasing the pressure. Releasing the pressure. So again, easy to do with the kids. Down, check their position, feet, hips, pressure, elbows, here. So we're on a low lock situation. And I just stand with all the kids in a line. They're in lines this way, and I go here. Then I go here. Then I go this way, forward, back, and then I'll correct and give them corrective feedback as we're going. Your elbows, your hips, where you're at, your position. So it's easy to do without partners, just getting the kids to move correctly. And then as they progress through, there's other things you can kind of add to it, but the emphasis is hips, releasing the pressure, and elbow position so they don't get caught. Don't get caught. And if they start gutting one way, hands up. Any questions on any of this? Okay, if Patrick goes to do Patrick jumps to his mid-level side lift. So Mason's going, reverse lift defense is getting off the lift. Push, push, push. Pushing off, pushing off, pushing off. He jumps it, and he's back, pushing off. If Patrick goes straight lift, swing step, off. So I don't try to, Mason's a little more advanced, so you see I pushed on the arm. I don't really emphasize that to the kids, because they'll push back and get their hips snatched. So it's really important that they're just in a Superman position and off the lift. So you can do this with, just have kids go down the mat, and then you're just lifting here and off. Lift, off. Lift, off. Then if he gets them up, just snatch them up. Superman position, off, swing your foot, off. Once you hit the mat, the critical part for kids, adjust back to square your hips up. Because if you sit there, you're gonna get gutted. Or you hit the wrong way, the guy's going right into a combination gut. They're waiting for that, so you gotta adjust back in. So again, the emphasis is just, especially for little kids, really Superman position. Position, heavy hips, moving off, and keep moving down there. And have the mentality that it's an offensive position on the bottom. And go through the cues for them, and really emphasize without a partner, then start adding a partner. And I'll even go, especially with the kids, is Mason's got a lock, and I'll just have the kids start on top. I'll say, okay, this guy's going 50%, and he's moving his feet, moving, and then this guy's gotta move, and then I give him corrective feedback on bottom position, like don't touch your elbows. If you do that again, you're doing push-ups. Okay? So he's moving, and Patrick's moving, and you can go on the clock. 20 to 30 seconds, you're walking around giving feedback, okay, break, switch, then you can go back, and you can start different positions. And then the other thing is you can start on a mid-level lock. So, and then you start, okay, we're going on the clock, you gotta move the lock, move it, isolate the lock, get in position, keep moving, and then you're working with the kids, okay, great. So you can get them the cues on where to go without them getting in a position where they can get hurt. And then you can start, okay, now we're going 100% when you feel everybody's got their elbow position, hips, and good position, especially with kids. Just use it as, drills before practice, individual, and then start adding the gut positions, and then progress through it, and then start adding the level of intensity through those positions when you feel they're ready and their hands are in position and they're ready to, from a safety standpoint, so they're ready to progress. Because what I see sometimes is we have different levels of classes. So I've got what I call an elite group, and a lot of the kids are all Americans, and we have some guys in there coaching that are, senior level guys that coach. And sometimes the speed of execution is a little too fast for them. Like if I get a new kid in there, that's why I separate them. I don't have the elite kids with the level 1 kids, because the level 1 kids can't adjust their hands fast enough. Last year I had a kid just hurt his elbow a little bit. Just the speed of execution changes. So I keep them in levels, and I bring the progression in so they're ready for that level of speed of execution. So there's, from an injury standpoint too. So that's one of the big reasons we do levels and classes, because I keep the curriculum and then I progress them through as far as the curriculum goes, and then the level of intensity they can take in training, and it changes per group. So Any questions on the bottom? What time is it, Berto?
11:56.
Okay, so I wanted to go through this while everybody's here, just a little bit on the bottom. And then this afternoon, I'd like to go through with the officials too, as we can talk more about the top position and progressing on the gut wrenches, and then add some lifts to it, and then maybe we can get into some official things on the lifts, you know, what you guys are looking for, leg fouls, you know, how to finish a lift, and the different dynamics of top wrestling. But the main thing in that too is the progression of how you progress from position to position, and some drills, and then get into lifting, and some different things from lifts, combinations, how to lift and gut, and straight lift, side lift. There's so many different lifts, we can go into some different top stuff. So, does anybody have any questions that might not be here this afternoon? Okay, so, is it lunchtime or?